The International Academy of Environmental Sciences' main aim is the establishment of an international environmental criminal court to protect ecosystems and promote environmental prevention policies that protect the environment from man-made risks and the abuse of resources. Over the years, the initiative has been actively supported by academics and scientists from around the world, including Nobel laureates for peace, heads of state, and illustrious names from the world of politics. An essential factor for the success of the criminal court is the development of a technical consulting service to support the activities of the court itself. And that's why the Academy is creating a highly computerized observatory to collect historical, legal and scientific data from past environmental disasters around the world. The observatory's headquarters is located in Venice, a city whose very nature illustrates the delicate balance between man and nature. EDO, the Environmental Disaster Observer, is an information system designed for the consultation and analysis of all the data collected by the observatory. EDO is available in several languages. Its features are divided into two macro areas. Firstly, the system allows users to access archives of collected data and processed information on environmental disasters. These can be consulted by using a search function, or with maps that enable you to explore an area and all the information related to it. The system has a second mode, whereby users can work with data analyses by using various functions. We will look at these later. Let's begin with the search function, and in particular map searches. This function allows users to view, among other things, environmental disasters, divided into categories. If we select one of these, in this case the layer showing all the major oil tanker disasters over the last 40 years, the location of each disaster appears. The data consultation function allows you to view graphs and charts containing statistics relating to the causes of the incidents. As you can see, on smaller ships, the most common cause is oil leaks. Whereas for ships carrying more than 700 tons, the main causes are sinkings and collisions. The statistics reveal that the number of accidents has decreased over the last 40 years, as has the total quantity of oil spilled. Thankfully, this figure has remained low, especially since 1995. Let us now look at the data concerning the costs incurred to deal with these accidents, contain the leaks and recover the environment, and the costs of compensation to people and industry. From the graph, it is immediately clear that as the quantity of oil spilt increases, so do the costs incurred to handle the emergencies. The curves provide a good interpolation for data relating to small and medium spills, but depart significantly in a few cases highlighted in the graph. These mainly concern very large spillages where little was spent compared to the general trend. Besides the general information relating to different categories of accidents, the system allows users to view other information, such as the routes taken by oil tankers every day. As with the layers relating to incidents, we can find out specific information about each route. For example, the number of vessels per year and the total load. This huge amount of information can be simply viewed, but also analysed using a series of tools provided by EDO. It's possible to analyse the risk connected to oil transportation in all the world's seas. The risk assessment function takes into account two factors. an evaluation of the environment's vulnerability, and identification of the factors that could increase the risk itself. Factors contributing to the vulnerability of an area include elements such as protected marine and coastal areas and population density within the area. Naturally, the impact of a black tide is more devastating on areas with a high environmental value or high population density than on others. As you can see from the graph, the system has sorted the routes by considering factors such as the frequency with which the routes are used and the total volume of cargo carried. EDO can calculate other risk factors, for example extreme weather conditions like storms, hurricanes, and in rare cases, tsunamis. Combining all these factors together produces a risk value for individual routes, which are divided into low, medium, and high-risk groups. Considerations like these can be used to work out insurance premiums according to the calculated risk, or advise transport companies to take greater precautions along high-risk route. Let's now concentrate on a specific incident, the one involving the tanker Prestige, which sank off the Spanish coast in 2002. Here too, it's possible to consult a whole range of information regarding the incident. Things like a description of the vessel and its specifications, an explanation of the cause of the disaster, or an illustration of the accident timescale. EDO offers the user a series of different media concerning the disaster in question. In the example, we can see a film outlining the phases that led up to the oil leak and the subsequent sinking of the ship. From this reconstruction of the events, we can see how the damaged hull split in two and how the ship sank 6 days after the initial incident. Photos taken from several satellite platforms can help predict the consequences of the disaster. The system can also hold photo archives, recording the causes and the effects of the incident. Finally, the media section includes newspaper and magazine articles from the time of the tragedy. It's also possible to analyze the data collected on a single incident. Here, for example, we can use mathematical tools to examine how the oil spill spread into the water with a hydrodynamic model that simulates how the oil was carried as time progressed. The model can reconstruct how the oil spill spread in the days following the incident, highlighting things like the coastal areas affected by the black tide. With the scenario evaluation function, we can simulate an alternative scenario and evaluate the effects of different strategies to those actually adopted during the efforts to contain the leak in the days following the accident. This function enables us to duplicate the incident parameters by simulating an alternative object that can be manipulated by the user. By simulating an alternative route for the ship in the hours immediately after the accident, the user can analyze how the oil spill might have spread if, for example, the vessel had been immediately towed into the port of La Coruña. In this way, the user is able to compare the real consequences of the accident with those produced by the simulation. This comparison shows us that in the simulated hypothesis, the oil spill would have been much smaller and affected a much shorter coastline and only one country as opposed to 3. The EDO system offers a further tool based on mathematical models called nowcasting. With this function you can simulate an accident that is in progress, so you can monitor in real time the evolution of the emergency and predict the immediate consequences. Let us suppose there is an oil tanker accident in the Atlantic Ocean. With EDO you can insert the data regarding the accident in real time. The system asks for information such as the time and location of the accident, the type and quantity of material being transported, and details regarding the leak. The system then collects real-time data on weather forecasts, ocean currents and winds, enabling it to predict how the spill will develop. Users can then analyze the data regarding possible consequences of the disaster and come up with possible intervention strategies. Let's now go back to the system's search functions. EDO enables us to gather information through indirect logical routes, such as those dictated by the need to identify all accidents that have produced similar health effects. In this case, we will choose eye lesions. From the list of accidents that have caused eye lesions, we can choose the one that occurred in India in Bhopal. We can now explore the incident by again using a mathematical model, here propagation by air, so we can see how the toxic cloud spread into the atmosphere. The cloud in the Bhopal incident caused some serious health effects. EDO offers tools for viewing this kind of event too. You can consult data on timescales in cases of death, successful and unsuccessful pregnancy cases, and cancer incidence rates over time, divided according to age and gender. The user can compare data from different sources. In the first of the three charts, we can see that the data provided by official sources is different to the data from other organizations. Unfortunately, also in Europe we have experienced the devastating effects of chemical industry accidents. For example, the disaster in Seveso, Italy, in 1976, when an explosion at the Icmesa chemical plant released a dioxin cloud into the air. If we compare Bhopal with Seveso, we can access the health area and see clearly laid out the similarities and differences referring to the onset of tumours since the two disasters. Let's now focus on the Seveso case, whose impact on health and the environment led to the establishment of European Community directives, later adopted by all EU countries. These directives, along with the laws of the different countries, can be consulted in the system's juridical area, where you can also find the rulings passed as a result of the numerous lawsuits. Besides the juridical area, the Seveso case also demonstrates EDO's effectiveness in analysing environmental specific data on things such as cleanup operations. The area affected by the dioxin cloud included 9 municipalities near Milan. Immediately after the accident, the worst hit area was divided into 3 zones, according to the surface soil concentration of dioxin. Zone A, which was the hardest hit, spread over 108 hectares. The 736 inhabitants were immediately evacuated. 60 houses were destroyed, 80,000 animals were slaughtered, and approximately 200,000 cubic meters of land taken away and stored safely in sealed drums. In the system's socio-economic area, the total cost of the disaster can be calculated. Approximately 420 million euros, of which 230 million alone was spent on research and clean-up operations, which included the creation of an enormous park called the Oak Forest. This now forms the heart of the town of Seveso and is a symbol of the population's strength and courage to start again. The EDO functions illustrated in this video are just a sample of the potential this tool has to offer the observatory, which will provide fundamental technical support to the International Environmental Criminal Court. Naturally, just how effective and complete the system will be depends on the active collaboration of all the countries taking part in the project, and the universities and research centres that will provide data and models for the system. Only then will the Environmental Disaster Observer become a shared and shareable tool for the benefit of man and the environment.